What is up, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the best champions for each role in 6.12, and I'm going to spend a little less time talking about each pick than normal, but we'll look at more overall. So in theory, it should be a lot more useful. Remember to like this if you did, dislike it if you didn't, but leave your best picks in the comments. I actually love seeing who you're all playing right now. So we're going to look at the mid lane at first, one I talked about a little while ago, but I think Malzahar is taking a runner-up spot right now. I know what you must be thinking, like, where did that come from? A bit random, but he has one of the highest win rates in every single region right now, and I bet you're also kind of thinking, in what world was Malz's passive ever a good idea? Because I do not understand where that ability came from. Anyway, he's been slowly creeping back up recently, like one of the best teamfight mages. I think you have a decent lane phase, you can push easily, you can set up ganks. You're not really that good against assassins, but they aren't as common this patch, so we can get away with that. Right now, his high win rate is actually coming from a lot of specific matchups, so like Victor, Azir, LeBlanc, Twisted Fate. He does really well against all of these, and all of them are really popular. You poke and you push, which is hard to deal with. You have the lockdown and burst for low health mages, and you take objectives really fast. Like, you have a good team fight, right? Much more of what the game is actually about right now in this kind of meta. So our top spot is actually going to be Victor. One I just said Malzahar has been doing really well against, so maybe he'll actually knock him off. Who knows? When you look at stat websites, you wouldn't think he'd be the best, really. Like, he has an okay win rate, but nothing special. And this is why I always say that you have to look at what's behind the win rate. He is the most popular mid laner right now. He's the highest play rate. The win rate is bad under 15 games played with the champion as well. It's a little weird, like a different play style to pick up, but then massively increases when you have actually learned him. He has a really good lane phase, which is important now. Wave, clear, poke, very high sustained damage. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things, is just like how much damage he can do from so far away. It is actually very hard to deal with, like hard to dodge the lasers constantly and often take a lot of damage from his ult without really realizing it in a team fight. Like, you have a lot of things to think about in a team fight anyway, not just dodging his laser. So I did say I'd spend less on those top two so I could talk about two others to watch out for, and the first is Talia. When she first came out, I honestly thought she was as useful as a cock flavored lollipop. Like, she's kind of just a weird champ to get used to, but I feel actually like now she brings quite a lot to the table. On the back foot and when she's behind, she doesn't really do much at all, but when ahead and poking, it's really good. Like, you have the flip into minefield, poke from acute, and add up to a ton of damage, and she's definitely on the rise. With Twisted Fate, the meta is kind of shifting perfectly again for him, so the early lane phase is meaning more, so his roams are better. We have these objectives as well. Picks in general are like lower health everywhere, so we can one-shot them, and assassins are falling off a little bit, so more passive farm mages who don't kill him as easily. So let's move into the jungle, and our second spot is going to be Volibear. I didn't actually talk about him last patch. I think Kindred and others kind of kicked him off the top spots, but now especially with his carry top meta, Volley is great. The thing is, you can kill these carry tops anyway. You have a lot of damage, you're tanky, plus you provide a front line if you don't have a tank top and you don't have a tank support. Like, mage supports are very common now. The reason I actually value him so highly is because he fits into any team comp. Like, he's always a good pick and a good fit. It's very rare you'll actually ever lose because of champ selects with Volibear selected, which is perfect when other teammates don't really understand. He's very tanky, especially with passive and Cinderhulk. It's kind of hard to actually deal with for meta AD carries right now, and can consistently actually have a really big impact, which is perfect for climbing the ladder. I honestly think he's really, really good for lower and higher ranks. Like, easy to play, but can actually carry as a tank, which is not that common. Hecarim is going to be my #1 jungler this patch. He's doing really well in Europe and North America anyway, but absolutely crushing it in other regions like Korea. Similar to Volibear, he kind of offers that tank on the team, but with engage and more damage, really, I guess. Cinderhulk into Triforce, then full tank is kind of the most common thing right now. You're hard to kill, but he's gonna kill you. You have good ganks, you can help bad teammates if they're losing their lane. You have a good team fight with your ultimate, and just crazy damage naturally, especially early. That is where he shines. Early, you're going to be ganking a lot. You're too tanky to kill, but your base damage will kill people, and you're genuinely, I think, overpowered before like 30 minutes into the game, and the other people can actually catch back up. It's kind of perfect actually if you want to carry more but you prefer tanks or engage. I guess it's a great mix between the two. Like, the meta shift recently, the Ghost change, the Triforce change combined to just rocket him to the top. The other two I want to talk about are Amumu and Kha'Zix. So Kha'Zix, we know, is kind of strong already, one of the most popular picks at the moment because other carry junglers have been nerfed and he hasn't. He has more damage than most other junglers now. 1v1, I don't think many can actually beat him, and he's going to be able to one-shot people later, which is a really good way to actually carry from the jungle. Amumu is actually coming up for kind of the same reason. With other carry junglers getting nerfed, the early game is safer and he can farm to 6 easier. Like, he has this massive AoE lockdown to punish these Ashe, Misfortune, Jinx picks, and has a lot of damage too. Basically, you're very tanky, you have high damage and a really good team fight, which is kind of exactly what we want right now in 6.12. We might as well just round out these solo lanes for now, so let's go to the top lane. Honestly, the second spot is probably Malzahar right now, but we just talked about him for mid and everything is the same. So I'm going to pick pick Sion. In my opinion, Sion is the best tank we have left. After Fizz, Echo, Maokai all got nerfed, he's just a lot better. He does well against these carry top laners because they just can't kill him. Like, he has decent damage early and he can actually punish them and kill them, which is kind of funny for a full tank. Also, we have more carry junglers around now, so Sion can kind of help round out the comp and provide a front line. I don't think any other champion can really survive as long as him. This patch is actually a lot less about just absorbing damage. It's kind of more about preventing it in the first place. So like Ashe, Jinx, Twitch, K, all of them are tank killers really, and Sion has knockups to stop them attacking, and plus he actually lasts a long time. It's going to give your team time to kill their front line often before you die, and I think your ultimate is the biggest advantage though over someone like Maokai. Like, sure, Maokai has point and click crowd control, but Sion can ult down a lane and engage to snowball a game. So my top spot is going to be Irelia still for now. Not only is she the most popular top lane, but she's also probably the most banned and still manages to have an insane win rate. There are nerfs on the PvE that will knock her down a little bit. Part of the problem actually is just her ultimate and how effective she can be with it. The new Triforce is just way too good on her, honestly. You have sustained damage, you have burst, and you can win pretty much most matchups now, I think, if you play it correctly. You can get through tanks with the true damage, you can burst squishy targets, but I think right now, like, the issues are she's too good when she's ahead. She's too good with just one item and only 3,500 gold invested. The normal answers to this kind of carry like bruiser picks are, one, you just have crowd control. That doesn't really work for Irelia. The other one is you beat her in lane, but Irelia is probably just going to outscale you in carry anyway. My other two top laners to mention are going to be Vlad and Swain. I'm going to do them together because I think they both do a very similar job, which is kind of the problem. They both heal a ton and survive for way too long while having a lot of damage in their kit already. It's a bit too simple to play really to have the impact they actually have. Like, you can sit back in lane with no pressure and be rewarded with an amazing mid game. It doesn't really encourage a very good playstyle. You're a very good mix of like damage and tank though. Like, good for ranked, I guess, when you reach a point that you can't be killed, but you're going to be killing everyone else. If you're the one playing Vlad or Swain, then I think that's great for you, but if you're against them, then I don't really think that's a very healthy playstyle to actually have. So I am sorry, support mains, but I just can't put AD carry last. Like, it would go against everything as an AD carry main. I did just release a top 5 AD carry video though, so I'm going to move over the top 2 real quick because we've already talked about them, then focus more on the other upcoming picks. Miss Fortune is our number 2 here, the highest damage out of probably any AD carry right now. Good 1v1 burst with Dustblade, but it's more kind of the team fight though. So your ultimate really hurts with Armor Pen, AD, and the Black Cleaver passive. You have a decent-ish lane phase, but you're just kind of hard to stop mid-game really. It's not hard for Miss Fortune to press R at the right time, but it has a massive impact, and in my opinion will probably get nerfed at some point. With the current Korean build and meta full of bruisers or low health targets, your ultimate can ruin them and easily win fights. You can shut her down like crowd control or dive heavy teams, but it's not that easy to coordinate that in solo queue. Ashe is going to be taking our number 1, kind of the most well-rounded AD carry out of anyone at the moment. Really high damage, especially with Runins, and your ranger's focus active. You have amazing kite, which helps you survive longer. You even have an arrow to engage and catch people and snowball a game just with that. The reason she is different to other AD carries right now is because she has a very good mix of auto and ability damage. So your volley, your ranger's focus can carry the early game. That's kind of where abilities are the best actually, when you don't really have any items, and then when you do have items, your auto and crit damage on your passive is going to carry. At the moment, her Q, her ranger's focus is what's making her overpowered in my opinion. It just does so much damage. It's good actually for kind of burst, which it really shouldn't be used for that. So let's look at the other two though. So Jinx first. In theory, Jinx is actually a tank killer, and that's like what she's good at, right? But we're not in a tank meta right now, even though she's still doing really well. She has a ton of damage. The AoE rockets are crushing team fights with these big crits, and had a few kind of indirect buffs, I think. Like the AD is up on Infinity, for example. Even Lucian getting nerfed is going to help her lane phase. She is not as common, but she is coming up as one of the best late game and team fight AD carries, the auto attack AD carries, at least for now. Now Jhin is another one I want to mention because I think he might actually just pop off this patch or in a future patch and be insane. Both the crit and the Korean builds are very good right now. Ghostblade into Dustblade is more ability and ult focus damage. Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, that kind of crit build is more of a mix of auto attack damage that are going to hurt more and ability damage to finish it off. The thing is, some Jhin suck so bad. That's why people have a bad impression of him. Really, some people are just awful at him, but some are so good. When played properly, I actually think Jhin is one of the best right now, and when people realize that or when they get better with him, he's really going to spike. So part of the reason I keep leaving support until last is just because the same two are dominating at the moment. There hasn't been like a major shift in anything support related, though we are actually seeing some changes on the PB, which might just kind of swap things up a bit. Same kind of thing with AD carries. We're going to talk about the top two briefly, then two I think are getting better right now, and the second place is going to be Zyra. Zyra's damage is just ridiculously high, like way too high. It's very kind of like anti-fun or oppressive in the current state. It's really hard to play against. Like there's little you can do because because she's an anti-engage champion. So after level 6, if you dive onto her, then she just ults and it's hard to get through that damage and knock up to actually kill her. The problem is that she still has a lot of long range poke damage. Normally the answer to poke is to engage. With Zyra, that's a little bit difficult. You are very low health, so you can be caught and burst when alone later into the game, but I still think you're one of the best carry supports. You do similar damage to your mid lane. You can carry a bad AD through the lane phase with your poke and then kill everyone in team fights. Blitz is going to be keeping the #1 spot too. This meta is kind of just perfect for him, and he just does way too much damage. He's basically on top in every single region right now, one of the most effective in the laner phase, but also kind of transitioned into a very good mid game. It's the perfect kind of situation to roam at the moment against immobile mid laners, the same reason he spanks immobile AD carries in the lane phase. It's just very risk-free at playmaking at the moment. Like, you don't have to go balls deep if the hook doesn't land, so you're very high impact for what you actually have to do. You land one skill shot and the rest is pretty much done. I think he's just ideal for carrying a ranked game. You'd be proactive with him, you're putting your team on your back, which is rare for a support to be able to have that much impact. The other two are ones that I think will be getting a lot better heading towards the next patch. So there are some healing item buffs on the PBE, but even now Soraka is doing pretty well. She kind of naturally complements these immobile later game AD carries, helps them get through the average lane phase and free farm to the items they're going to need. She's actually still good early into the game because she can still heal. Like, there's more action early now, lane phase means more. Specifically, actually losing lane is a lot worse now. It's hard to lose a lane that badly with a Soraka. The last one is going to be Taric. Mage supports are really good right now, but Taric's heals and shields can kind of keep up with that, and he just has so much impact in a game. I think of him actually kind of like the more useful version of Janna, like a tanky Janna, I guess, with more playmaking potential. In lane, he can stun, he can shield to go aggressive. In team fights, though, you can ult to protect the team and stall out a lot of damage. It's actually very hard to play against like a multi-person KLO. I feel like he's really well-rounded at the moment and definitely underrated, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him being played a lot more. Anyway, remember to leave your best in the comments, like, subscribe, comment, and share, but for now, let's go to the robots.